boy, you have got to love when people from your own hometown come together and say, hey, we don't like you. Square up your act. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and well, we all know that Uber is basically in a pretty low opinion with everyone. They are in a low opinion with regulators. They are in a low opinion from congressmen. The investors aren't particularly happy with them, and especially the drivers are not happy with them. That is why we see protest after protest. I go to many of these protests when they're around. I might even travel to some other protests that are just a little outside of my comfort zone. We'll see. But the latest place to protest, and maybe this is an invitation to go there, hang out. Maybe me and Dark Road Run can do a live stream. I don't know. Is that San Francisco drivers are officially fed up with Uber and Lyft, and they are asking them to basically pay them better, treat them better, just be overall a better neighbor. However, before we talk about any of that, let's have a word from our sponsors, which will definitely be a great database for those of you who do not want to continue doing Uber and Lyft.
Thanks, Kevin. Hi, I'm Jonathan with gigworker.com, and we've been commissioned to conduct a survey by an insurance company that's getting ready to put out a new insurance product specifically for Uber and Lyft drivers. But they want to get some information from drivers that will help them tweak the insurance so it really fits our needs. So I wanted to invite you to participate in the survey because they're going to use your answers to help them design the cheapest Uber and Lyft insurance available. Not only will it be cheaper, but it will cover a lot more, like lost wages when you can't work because your car is in the shop. Think about that. So if you're an Uber or Lyft driver, would you take about 5 minutes to complete the survey? Kevin said he'll leave a link down below in the description. If you could click on that at the end of the video, that would be great.
From CNET, San Francisco joins the fight to make Uber and Lyft drivers employees. Yep, there you go. I mean, we had Canada saying they wanted to be unionized. We had people in LA saying they wanted to be employees. And now San Francisco saying the same thing. Look, I know this is still a very touchy subject. I know there's a lot of people who do not want to be employees. And I understand why. We just did a podcast of it last week. And all of us were kind of in agreement. We would prefer to be independent contractors. Although 3 of us were okay with the government regulating, 1 was not. That was Mark from Uber Hints. And by the way, his argument was so convincing, I'm kind of like, I'm on shaky ground whether or not. I'm now kind of wondering, like, oh, maybe we should pull back. And yet, at the end of the day, I'm like, no, we probably need to hold their feet to the fire. They're not going to change unless we make them. And now San Francisco's joined in the fight as well. So, according to the article, so many people showed up to a San Francisco Board of Supervisors committee hearing on Friday that the city had to open an overflow room. The topic at hand, Uber and Lyft drivers' rights. The city's Public Safety and Neighborhood Services Committee convened to discuss a resolution that would support a proposed California state bill requiring Uber and Lyft to make their drivers employees. Currently, drivers are classified as independent contractors, sometimes referred to as gig workers, which means they don't get benefits, including Social Security, health insurance, paid sick days, and overtime. You know, it's always interesting. They always go towards that. That's not even drivers' main concern for the most part. It's getting that 60 cents a mile. That's what's driving them nuts. More than 24 drivers took to the podium with similar stories. They said they've seen lower pay, higher costs, and longer working hours as the cost of living has risen over the years. When they get sick, they said they can't afford to take time off. Quote, since Lyft's incentives have traditionally been tied to number of rides rather than time on the road, I'm encouraged to push myself to the limit, said Eden Alva, who's a Lyft driver in San Francisco. I feel trapped like one of those caged hamsters running in a wheel. The issue of gig worker classification is nothing new. Lawsuits have been brought against both Uber and Lyft going back as far as 2013. Since then, several cities and states have examined the matter. While New York City passed minimum wage laws, which aren't really minimum wage laws, I want to throw that out every single time because there's a lot of confusion about that. For drivers last December, the National Labor Relations Board said last month it believes drivers should be classified as contractors instead of employees. I've got Uber on the brain. Every time I see a U, maybe I should get help about that. I think I've been doing too many of these videos. Anyway, under California's proposed Assembly Bill 5, drivers would be classified as employees provided benefits and have the right to collectively Organize. Uber and Lyft appear to be opposed to AB5. Well, of course they're opposed to it. It's going to wreck their business model. One reason why is that the companies will have to rework their business models if they're required to turn their drivers into employees. Not only will they have to pay worker costs, they will also have to manage a workforce of tens of thousands of drivers in California. Well, they probably won't. They'll probably lay most of them off. I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke about that. It's really not funny, but that's probably what they do, folks. Driver protections. In a rare showing of cooperation, Uber and Lyft have banded together over the issue. The CEOs of both companies wrote a joint op-ed in the San Francisco Chronicle earlier this month saying they wanted to work with the state to allow drivers to remain independent contractors. In return, the company said they'd offer drivers a commitment to driver pay and let them form a, quote, new driver association. It's also no secret that a change to the employment classification of rideshare drivers would pose a risk to our businesses, the CEOs wrote. The two companies also sent messages to all California drivers saying that if they're classified as employees, they could lose their flexible work schedules. The messages encourage drivers to contact state legislators to say what they value about their work. A Lyft spokesman said more than 30,000 emails on the topic have been sent to legislators since it sent out its message. Okay, I guess. Lyft is advocating for an approach in line with the interests of our driver community, said the Lyft spokesman said in an email. Our goal is to preserve drivers' independence and flexibility. Yeah, but the drivers also want to get paid better, and they don't want to have to work as long. And that's not in Lyft's interest. Lyft's interest is for the drivers to make less money, and it is for them to be on the road longer. Heck, that's Uber's goal too. Let's call a spade a spade. They both want that. They thrive on that. That's why they banded together. But people are just tired of it because whenever they say we are advocating for the interests of the drivers, we've seen what the interests of the drivers look like to both these companies, and it's not the interests of the drivers, it's the interest of the company. By the way, I don't know if any of these quotes are coming into the article, but I love this. The only benefit I get with Uber and Lyft is diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Probably a reference to the fact that you eat a lot of fast food, you have a very non-active lifestyle. you really do. And you're stressed a lot from the passenger. So that's it's right down there, of course. Well, anyway, I thought that was a great quote, so we might just read it twice. An Uber spokesperson said the company isn't taking a position on AB5. Oh, sure they're not. We are seeking a carve-out. Rather, we are seeking new legislation that would give drivers the protections and commitments that they're asking for while providing protections for our business model, the Uber spokesman said. Nearly every driver who spoke at the committee hearing on Friday said they wanted California to pass AB5 and they wanted San Francisco to support the bill. Many cited a May study by the Economic Policy Institute that says the average wage for a U.S. ride-hail driver is $9.21 per hour after deducting expenses such as gas and maintenance. And boy, does that really not go very far in San Francisco. We won't read that quote again. Oops. I love it when that happens. After hearing from the drivers, the four supervisors of the committee hearing all agreed more had to be done to protect gig workers. Supervisor Raphael Mandelman, who is chairman of the committee, got choked up saying how hard it was to hear their stories. Quote, I was thinking about the arrogance of people a decade ago that promised disruption, and boy have they delivered. In large part relying on a business model that dismantles more than half a century of advances in worker protections. He and the other supervisors pledged to get the entire board of supervisors to pass the San Francisco resolution supporting AB5. Mandelman said he'd be surprised if the resolution didn't pass unanimously. AB5 passed the California State Assembly on May 29th in a 53-11 vote. The state Senate is scheduled to hold a hearing on the bill on July 10th. So just a little more than a week, and we will find out what the outcome of this is and what's going on. So anyway, no real surprise here, and by the way, you should also not be too terribly surprised by my opinion. I say regulate them. If they want to leave California as a result, let them leave California. I don't know if they're really that good for us in the first place. I mean, I know they're convenient. I'm being facetious, of course, but if their contribution to the state is low, like rock bottom wages, and increased traffic, which I've noticed the traffic's gotten a lot worse in the last 6 years. I'm almost afraid to drive sometimes. The traffic is so bad in this area. I say, yeah, let them leave. You know what? And if they have to do that, I don't care how many times they have to do this. Let them leave every single state until they realize that they need to make us true independent contractors. And by the way, if this passes, they might not even leave California, but the definition of being the independent contractor might change. You might have to have a special license to do this. You might have to, for sure, have rideshare insurance. There's a lot of ways they can keep the independent contractor status, let you keep your flexibility, and yet, but I don't think Uber and Lyft want to do that. I really don't think they do. So I was talking to another Uber tuber yesterday, whose name will, I don't think I'm throwing him under the bus, but we'll just keep them quiet. And he's watching this with a lot of fascination. And he was saying, like, he's telling his viewers they have to prepare for anything. They have to prepare for Uber to leave California, for the whole independent contractor status to change completely. You have to prepare because here's the thing. One thing is clear. The system isn't working, and Uber and Lyft had their opportunity to change this. They didn't. Now we're here. And you know what? I say good. Good. You know what? Hey, you're going to screw with the driver's earnings. You know what? Your company deserves to hurt a little bit. That's what I have to say. And I say that as an Uber shareholder. And I cannot wait for that meeting, when that shareholder vote, when you say, hey, we are going to do this to the drivers, and I'm going to vote against every single thing that you do that is going to hurt the drivers. So that's my opinion. I don't normally like San Francisco. I think the city's nuts, to be perfectly honest. However, good on them. Doesn't surprise me, though. I'm actually surprised it took them this long to get involved. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave right there. What do you folks think? Do you think it's good that San Francisco got involved in all this? Do you think it's bad? I mean, the debate continues. Do you want to be employees? Do you want to be independent contractors? What do you think of all this? We'll know for sure where we're going in a little more than a week. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way, helping the channel run smoothly, and you get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. Also, if gas prices are getting you just a little down, check out the Get Upside app below. It's totally free, but you get cash back on every gas purchase. If you want more videos from me, check me out at Kevin T. Rodriguez and the Apptrepreneur Vlogs channels. I do more content there. It's very different from what I do here. However, you might still enjoy it. And finally, if you want to talk to me or other fellow rideshare drivers, check us out at the Apptrepreneur Hangouts on Facebook. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.